Hey everyone, how's it going? On January 25th, I took a poll on what you guys wanted to hear next on this episode of Neanderthal Talks or Neandertalks. Still don't know what I'm going to call it, but the overall answer was it was a split vote between could they talk and culture. The other options were fishing methods, diets, and living. We're going to talk about all of them today, or this might be a two-parter. I'm not entirely sure yet. Um, let's start off with diets first. So, for the past, I'm going to say 2.5 weeks now, I've pretty much gone paleo. I was doing keto for a little bit. Those who are a little bit closer to me on social media and all that will know that I've lost a lot of weight. And that is pretty much due to working out every day, going to work for 8 or 9 hours, and eating healthy. Anyways, that isn't the point. Basically, Neanderthal diets or middle Paleolithic diets or early people diets would have been very mixed, in my personal opinion, and I guess the general consensus, I think is the word, or the overall, um, the general agreement with the professionals, the people that have access to laboratories and stuff testing all of this. So in Spain, some Neanderthals were supposedly they were complete vegetarians the last few weeks of their diet. Because just remember, when you're taking samples from bones and such or dental plaque, you're only getting the last few months or few weeks of their diet. You're not getting their lifetime worth of what they were eating. So, for example, since I've been pretty much only eating meats and a few dairy items and a few seeds here and there. Or maybe not hundreds of thousands, thousands of years from now, people analyzing my bones would see that I had a high protein diet or a high um, meat diet. I don't exactly understand it. It's been a while since I've actually read about how they've done it. And I've obviously, disclaimer, I'm sure a lot of you know this. I'm not a professional. I'm just very interested in the topic. That's regardless of the point. I'm sure more northern Neanderthals were eating primarily meat and whatever plants they could have scavenged. Um, Alaskan Inuits will eat, or they used to, I don't know if they still do, they would eat the lynchings from caribou stomachs. So, pretty much lynchings on their own are unedible. Um, Humans can't really digest them. So, the Inuit found out caribou, if you eat it from the caribou stomach, they will digest it for you, and then you can eat it like a salad, like a pickled salad, pretty much. Um, and that's actually something I learned from the Joe Rogan podcast, but we're not going to get into that for obvious reasons with Glenn Villanello, I think is his name, the guy from Life Below Zero. I'll link that below. It's a great podcast, a very, very good source of knowledge comes from just the hour and a half they talked, but we're not going to get into that. Um, Obviously, Neanderthals living in Shanidar would have been, I can't speak on it because I don't know much about that certain part of the area, but I imagine they were eating aurochs, ibex, plants, each other, maybe. Who knows? Uh, I don't like to joke about that. A lot of people, when they see Neanderthals were butchering each other, they always assume it was cannibalism. Personally, I think a lot of it could have been cannibalism, or even a lot of it could have been excarnation. Again, not the topic of discussion. So, to answer the overall question with diets, it obviously would vary from time and space. Neanderthals living in France during an ice age are not going to be eating the same stuff as Neanderthals living in Iraq or Israel. They're obviously it's two very different environments. They're going to be eating different things. So there's the answer for that. Fishing. This one's a little more difficult to answer. We have evidence of textiles. I think textiles means string. I'll just say we have evidence of them making string or cordage plant fiber cordage. And by that, once you figure out cordage, you can do millions of things. Nets, ropes, obviously. You can make knife daggers like Ötzi the Iceman. You can make entire clothes, like you can make overcoats like Ötzi or Otzi, however you want to say it. I speak English and I'm Canadian, which means I have this weird way of pronouncing things sometimes, like oot in a boot. I say that unironically sometimes. Again, I don't want to get off topic. But fishing, I'm going to assume they made nets with the recent evidence of them making or having found textiles and rope. Excuse me. There's also been a lot of fish bones discovered in the last 2 years, some fish scales, and kind of going off of that, they've also found rabbit bones, lots of tiny little birds, and we can assume they were using nets for those. Nets take forever to make. A great person named Douglas S. Meyer is actually making a net, I believe, and I'm pretty sure he has over. This is an over guesstimation, but I'm pretty sure he has almost 1,000 feet of rope to make this net. I've seen Inuit do it, not in person, but in videos, and they use like yards and yards and yards of rope to make fishing nets, like gill nets. I'm not saying not like I guess what we European people would call, or white people, whatever you want to call us, would use once we reel in the fish with a fishing rod and then scoop it up. I mean like gill nets, like long nets. Oh, and another way they could have been doing it is making woven baskets. The natives around here used to do that. I know that there's some areas where they did that with eels. In my area, the natives did that with fish. There's actually some baskets still remaining, except they're very fragmented, unfortunately. Where I live is very boggy, very swampy, very marshy in southern Ontario. I'm in between two Great Lakes, so obviously it's very humid. Stuff like that wouldn't last very long. But I don't want to say that they were using hooks, but they could have been using, what are they called? Goat hooks, maybe not goat hooks. But anyways, it's like a sharpened stick. It's got two sharp ends and the fish swallows it, and it's not like a reusable thing. You can't throw the fish back. The fish swallows it, and basically you kill the fish to capture it. They could have been doing stuff like that. But I imagine a large, or like a family group of Neanderthals would have rather made a net or really long spears, like again, like the Inuit do when they're capturing salmon, like a salmon hook or a salmon spear. Really cool. You guys should look that up when you get a chance. Now, I can either talk about could they talk or their culture. And I'm not sure, because both are very controversial. Well, I wouldn't say controversial. I would say they're just they're very difficult things to talk about, because obviously going that far back, like 30,000 plus years, it's very difficult to really talk about that with confidence. Again, talking about diets and fishing and all that, you can make educated guesses. Like obviously Neanderthals 100,000 years ago weren't going to McDonald's. They were obviously hunting aurochs or scavenging aurochs or eating cattail roots and cattail shoots or rose hibs, whatever was really available. They're hunter gatherers, they're nomadic people. They're going to eat what they have available. I'm ranting now because I'm trying to avoid the topic. I'm going to say they could talk. Maybe their speech patterns weren't exactly the same as ours. I'm pretty sure even Homo sapiens had different speech patterns back then. From my understanding, we went from having underbites to overbites, which really changed things. But again, this isn't something I really focus on. I more focus on their equipment and all that. Excuse me. I'm going to pause a second and drink some water. There isn't an awkward silence. All right. Anyways, could they talk? I would say yes, they absolutely could talk. What is it called? A thorax? I believe it's called a thorax, was found in Caprina. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure in Caprina there was a thorax found. And seeing that they're just, with more and more that's coming out, seeing how close they are to us in terms of, it's almost like you don't want to say that there are equals, but really we, in a direct way, we kind of come from them and our ancestors. Like, I would personally claim that they're our ancestors. I know people don't like to hear that, but in my opinion, Homo sapiens and Neanderthals, Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, or Homo neanderthalensis, are both our ancestors. Everybody always talks about how, again, I'm going all a rant, going off topic, but whatever. I'm sure you guys don't mind my rambling sometimes. I'm sure, what was I saying? Everyone likes to bring up how human evolution is not a line or a tree, it's more like a jumbled bush. Well, why is it then when it comes to the Neanderthals, it's all of a sudden, oh, Neanderthals are only a one off event. We only sort of bred with them. Would it make more sense that the lines crossed and became one? And that's what made the dominant species? Like, you got to imagine, after we were the last ones, or we became hybrids of everything, Denisovans and whatever else was around back then, came these weird monkeys that have gone into space. We've almost killed each other off hundreds and thousands of times. I don't want to talk about this stuff. Sorry, the Ukraine-Russian situation is on my mind right now, you know. Sorry about that. But yeah, I would say that Neanderthals, in a direct way, are our ancestors, and in an indirect way, they are also our ancestors. Yeah, that's a difficult word to say. I'm gonna drink some more water real quick. But yeah, back to the conversation. I would say yes, they could speak. I don't see why they couldn't speak. They had to pass down knowledge. Maybe they didn't talk as much as us. I doubt that. Maybe we obviously know that they had smaller groups. Maybe they just talked to each other. I don't know. But yeah, they obviously talked to each other. Maybe there would have been a language barrier, I'm sure. But we're going to get into that in a second. The language barrier between them and Homo sapiens, and even tribes that lived in the East and lived in the West, I'm sure they had language barriers too, or maybe different dialects. We have really no way to know. Sorry about that little cut in the video. I had to go blow my nose, and I didn't want to destroy your guys' eardrums with that. Sound like a mammoth going off. Anyways, yes, I would say they could talk. Maybe they could talk. They talked different than us. Maybe they talked the same. Maybe they sounded like me. Maybe they sounded like you. If they could speak English, who knows? English is a very difficult language to learn, and I barely know how to speak it myself. Anyways, culture. Or do I want to talk about living? I will talk about living next episode, whenever that comes out. So, culture. One thing I wanted to bring up about culture is, you always hear people comparing Homo sapien culture with Neanderthal culture, but you never hear anybody mention a shared culture. Now, there's no direct evidence of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens living together for a long time, but maybe that's just because we haven't found it yet. We know that they cross paths frequently because they live on in us through our DNA. So what's to say the last 100,000 Neanderthals or 10,000 Neanderthals didn't have a shared human culture? You know, I count them as human. I count us as human, the modern day sapiens, apes, upright monkey men, whatever you want to call us. In the end, we're all human. We all love, I mean, we're social beings. Primates are social beings. So there's no reason to think Neanderthals weren't. So why is there never a discussion of shared culture? I'm sure Neanderthals were passing ideas down to the Homo sapiens, and I'm sure Homo sapiens were giving ideas to the Neanderthals. Now, again, this is something that is never brought up. Did Homo sapiens teach Neanderthals about the atlatl, possibly the bow, maybe different ways of flint knapping? Uh, what's it called? The Chattel I believe it's called, is hotly debated. However, maybe that is just a group of Neanderthals that, or a group of Neanderthal hybrids or Neanderthals that lived with a tribe of Homo sapiens, and they just took the culture back to their people. I don't know how you really want to describe that. I'll say their people. Maybe they took this culture back, but they couldn't put it into words of how to properly do this, because obviously grandpa's never done this before and I have to explain it to my parents. So how do you do that? And maybe that's how the Chattel came about. Again, it's hotly debated, but it's cool to speculate, you know. We know Neanderthals made art in the form of some things. And speaking of shared culture, I do believe that there was a bear carving found in some site. Um, again, I cannot remember it off the top of my head. I will link it down below because I almost know what it's found, or I almost know what it's called, but I can't quite remember it. What was I saying beforehand? We know that they created cave paintings, more geometric symbols than animals like later Homo sapiens or later Homo sapien hybrids, Neander sapiens, whatever you want to call them. I know any expert that sees this is going to laugh, but come on. You guys don't think outside the box. What else? We know that they might have been creating jewelry. That's a word I can't say because of my beautiful, luscious Canadian accent. What else? We know, or I say we know, we assume, we make educated guesses, or they, and then, us common folk, we can only sort of regurgitate what they tell us. We know that their tools were, as much as older documentaries and older papers will say, their tools definitely sort of evolved after because Homo sapiens came over there a bunch of times and their tools changed. Neanderthal tools changed a few times, but not quite. So obviously their tools weren't evolving that rapidly. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Nothing wrong with a Levallois toolkit if you've got the proper stone. Taking another water break, sorry. It's real dry in my house. Excuse me. What else? We know that they might have held some sites as sacred, like the cliffs of Jersey. They seem to have visited that a lot. La Paracy. I probably said that wrong. The place with all the stalagmites or whatever it's called, where they put it in a giant circle and some are lit on fire and all that. There's just all these sites that they must have held sacred. Gibraltar must have been a sacred site. That must have been whatever. The Neanderthal king must have lived there for all we knew, or queen or whatever. We don't know if they were matriarchal or patriarchal. I know I didn't say that properly. I'm sorry, my English friends. I know a lot of people from the UK watch my channel, and I don't say things proper. Whatever. What else? Living. I don't really want to talk about living right now. I just want to talk about, I just want to ramble about the things you guys wanted to hear. But obviously with culture, there's a lot of things we won't know about culture. There's a lot of things we won't know about their day-to-day lives, like fishing and diets. We can look at their bones, look at their tools, look at whatever other evidence we find, and make educated guesses. And that's what science is. Science is rapidly changing your answers to fit to get as close as image as we can. Yeah. So again, culture, they must have had thousands of cultures throughout their span. They must have had individual cultures. Like I'm sure some Neanderthal bands hated hyenas, cave hyenas, European hyenas, whatever, and some loved them. I'm sure some hunted mammoth every time they came through, and I'm sure some seen them as sacred. You just never know with culture. But overall, it seems like they were a nomadic culture. I will say that, at least for the most part. Hunter gatherers, they were obviously a hunter gatherer culture as well. But yeah, I don't want to talk about rituals or anything, even though that is part of culture. But I imagine they were a very cultural people. And I mean, even we are today, Homo sapiens sapiens, or whatever you want to call us, Homo stupidus is what it seems like. We're a very cultural species. And I think that's what makes us human, is culture. But that's just my opinion. That's pretty much going to be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed my rambling. I tried to keep my little ADHD brain focused this time. I think I did a pretty good job. But yeah, anyways, let me know what you think of this kind of video down below. Did you enjoy my less rambly kind of videos and more center focused or focused, whatever you want to call it? Anyways, I won't keep you any longer. It's pretty early here and I got to get up early tomorrow. So this is what I want you to do. Like, share, and subscribe. You know, it'd be pretty cool if we could hit 1,000, because then I can live stream on YouTube. I refuse to live stream on Facebook. Sorry, guys. Let me know in the comments what topic you want me to attempt to answer next time. I'm going to try to do one of these at least once a month, or maybe twice a month. Check out my second channel. Check out the Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I don't really tweet. I think Twitter's stupid. And I might start a Patreon, but I doubt it. I do a lot of, this is like a part-time job, like running Facebook and all that. As dumb as that sounds, I do love it, but I also do have a full-time job, and this takes a lot of time away from my free time, which I don't have a lot of. I work a lot during the weekend, or the week, sorry. But yeah, anyways, let me know what you want me to talk about. Check out the description. Be sure to share with your friends. This has been Neanderthal Joe with Neandertalks, and I'll catch you in the next cave.